Hello and welcome to the CSS Neuse Civil War Interpretive Center. My name is Matt Young and I am the site manager here. And today we're going to be talking about officers and enlisted on board as part of the crew. We'll also talk a little bit about their uniforms. First, we have focused on a Confederate naval lieutenant. Most of the officers, in fact all the officers on board the CSS Neuse had some professional training. There were several who were graduates of the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis. And there were many more who were enrolled in Annapolis but had to drop out because the war began. This is the standard regulation Confederate naval officer's uniform. You can see it's kind of a steel gray color. There would be cuffs, embroidery on the cuffs, and there was shoulder board with one star that indicated that the officer was a lieutenant. And the first two commanders of the ship, William Sharp and Benjamin Loyal, both held the rank of lieutenant. It wouldn't be until the ship got its last commander, Joseph Price, that the commander of the ship held actual rank of commander. The uniform guidelines for the enlisted sailors, they had guidelines, but more often than not, many of the sailors that came on board the ship were a combination of materials. A lot of these men came from the Army, and we think, based on quartermaster records and soldier records, that a lot of the men were still perhaps wearing their Army uniforms and may have been supplemented based on what the Navy had. So if you look at our ironclad sailor, as I like to call him, you'll see that he has trousers that are Army. He has a coat that is clearly Army, but his hat and his neckerchief are clearly Navy. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of what was available at the time and what would have been used. He's carrying an 1841 model US style cutlass, which was adopted very early on in the Confederate Navy. And we also have a number of different smaller items and objects, buttons and bullets and belt buckles that were all found here locally, either on board the ship or at the local battlefields, either the Battle of First Kinston or the later battle in 1865 of Wise Ford. But there is a very clear difference between the officers and the enlisted men on board the Neuse. The officers, they were the professionals. For the most part, the enlisted men were amateurs. There were a few of them who had naval experience, but for most of them, they had never been on board a ship, much less an ironclad ship, before they got assigned to work on the CSS Neuse.